You know my name. I'm Nina Thompson, and we are here again with another episode, and I do say episode because it gets pretty live, of Make Your Life Work Project. We have a very, very special guest, as always, but this person I have known, I would say a babe in swaddling clothing, but since I was younger. We've known each other for about 20 years, probably. Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. So she's definitely a buddy, and I can't wait to have this conversation with her. I promise you it will be interesting. Deneen Busby. Well, like I said in my post, the Deneen Busby.
The is my first name now?
Yes, ma'am.
The.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a capital T? I think that's a capital T.
That is a capital T-H-E.
I can spell it.
The one, the only.
Thank you for having me.
Lady Busby.
Thank you for having me.
And she's known. I'm glad you decided to come. I wouldn't have held it against you.
Gave the invitation, put the invitation out there, I was coming.
Good, I'm glad, because I think I'm really excited about this whole discussion with her around, purpose and understanding where you need to be and when you need to be places and what you are, and looking for that sweet spot in your life, because she has done so many great things. She's been in so many wonderful positions, and we all know her as the skate queen, and we
I don't know about that.
and the radio personality, but she has more than that to offer us from her experience today. So I'm going to just ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Some people might not know all the things that you've done.
It's hard for me to talk about myself, so I can
know.
just tell you about myself, just my history. Of course, I'm from St. Louis.
Yep.
The question that everybody asks in St. Louis, that all the people who are not from St. Louis say that they hate, I went to Hazelwood East.
I won't hold that against you.
I don't know why you would,
Because I went to Metro.
it's a big deal that I went to Hazelwood East. Graduated from Fontbonne 2 times. I have my bachelor's and my MBA from there. I started my career in radio. I think a lot of people do not know that my very first radio job was actually what is 100.3 The Beat now, KTZ.
Yep.
That was my first job. So, and a lot of people probably have never heard of Dr. Jockenstein, who gave me my start.
You'd be surprised.
But you know who he is.
I know. Why would you think I would know?
But because
I'm
you're
much
so
younger
well
than you.
educated, you're so well versed, if you will, on what goes on in the St. Louis area.
Thanks for cleaning it up.
Yeah. But that was my start.
Okay.
I really wanted to be, I thought I was going to be an actress at first. But my mother was like, you're not going to school in LA. You're going to be right here in this area. And so this was my plan B. So I started working at KTZ, then I moved over to Magic, where I was for 14 years. And then I've had several jobs, I would say, that like some of them I don't put on my resume,
Right.
just because there's too many and I don't know the years or the dates.
That's okay.
So I worked at Lambert Airport for 3 years, then Caris TL Health, and now I'm at Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater St. Louis.
And this is, Boys and Girls Club is your newest position, so tell us just a
Right.
little bit about what you're doing there.
So I'm Vice President of Marketing and Communications. As you know, Dr. Flint Fowler was there for 28 years. He retired, 28, 29, 30 years. He retired at the beginning of the year. We have a new president and CEO, Brandon Williams.
Look at her in her
comes
PR
with
mode, y'all.
a
You all checking her out.
background.
Tell him he owes me for that ad, right? He needs
A
to send us
stellar background.
He has to send us a check for that free ad.
You asked me what I'm doing now, so.
But I didn't tell you to go in PR mode.
But I am serving the
That's
youth
good.
in our area from 6
job.
to 18 years old. We're headed to summer camp. So if your kids need a place to be,
You just have to take a 10-minute
yeah,
ad out,
I'm
right?
just saying.
We do charge for those, by the way. We'll
But
send him an
I've
invoice.
been worked in nonprofit for most of my
That's been
career.
your passion,
Even
yeah.
though at the radio station I still did community affairs. So that's pretty much how I think we met, right?
Did you do something with Malone? Anyone?
I did work there.
You know why I remember that,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
I did work there.
Because I was one of their awardees one year.
Was
And I
it
can't help but
the,
think maybe you had something to do with it.
You remember what it was? It was the
I don't
The
remember.
soiree or?
I can't remember. I still have my award.
I remember, but.
And they gave us a mask.
Yeah. Oh,
It was-
yes, that's what it
Okay,
was.
yeah.
Right. We honored people. So I did
So I
work
remember
there.
that
I
employment.
did work there. Yeah, so that
Long
was one
enough
of the
to-
jobs
yeah.
that's not on there.
That's funny. And that's the only one I remember. Okay.
That's funny.
So today,
I told you that Skull has been here for like 1 year.
okay. We're glad to have callers though, so we won't complain
right.
about that, all right?
They might have a question.
It's okay. At least they know we're not just talking to the walls and to our videographer and our other person, our assistant. So what I'd like to start with is I have questions that I made up. It's for discussion circles. I like to have people when you have more, have enough people. I like to have them in groups working because I always hated working in groups. I just didn't like it. But I've since grown and I understand the value of it. So
That's good.
yeah, it is because you have to do that. So what normally I do is I'll give them the sheet and I'll say pick 2 or 3 questions that you guys want to answer as a team
Okay.
and report out on it. I'm still being worked on because I am a supportive person, but I'm not a big team player. So to compensate for that, I teach team all the time, and maybe one day it'll hit me.
That's interesting.
I know.
I
I'm just a
will
solitary
say-
person, though. You know that about me. I mean,
Yeah, I will say though that the team dynamic that I least like was in college. I did not like in this program that I was in, you worked in these groups. And so
right,
there
yeah.
were always people who would slack off.
Right, absolutely.
And there's always that's the part that I did not like. So I was just trying to think how I work in teams. I don't know. I wouldn't really grade myself in that because
yeah, I
might be a
think part of
little
that is who's doing it because
Yeah.
I use it all the time. At Harris Stowe, St. Louis Community College, everywhere I've taught, I've used it. And they love it because it's usually just something fun. Like,
Okay.
take the spaghetti and build this,
yeah.
and, things like
Okay.
that. And so they are being able to say what they think. So they enjoy
that's
it.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it depends on how serious the person that's teaching it is and what their personality is. And hopefully your instructor doesn't hear this. It's a
Not
joke.
saying anything.
Okay, so I am going to, she hasn't seen these questions, so this is
Right.
catching her completely off guard. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll let you pick one first,
Okay.
and then I'll pick a second one. How about
Okay.
that? Is that
Okay.
fair?
Okay.
And don't look at them all just to know what's coming, because you still
So
won't
let
know
me
what I'm
see.
going to pick. So there are 3
Oh,
more on the
wow.
other side.
These are hard.
Oh, they're not. I used them for my high school and college students, so you can do it. You got it. I just-
You could pick one because I don't know the answer
Okay.
to any of those.
So I get to do 2. Okay.
I don't know.
What would you like your friends or others to remember most about you, and why?
I didn't see that.
I said, look on the back, and you
Oh,
did.
I didn't do that. What would I?
Let me read it again.
Yeah.
What would you like your friends or others, not or others, to remember most about you? And then the follow-up to that is why.
I never have thought about that. Well, maybe I have, but I didn't come up with an answer. Honestly.
I just love you,
It's
Deneen.
so funny because I did not come up with the answer because often I think I'm misunderstood.
That's
So
an answer. That's good.
I would like for them to think that I was am a nice person, a fun person, and a person who cared about other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair
and
enough.
why?
Yeah, why?
I think caring about other people is important, and I think that it's a dynamic that is missing today. I think that being mean has been legitimized. Now, don't
We
get
were
me
just
wrong,
talking about- yeah.
because it's funny because today my daughter was saying that I do some very obnoxious things, and she is right, and I do it on
I
purpose.
used to think you just a tad, just a tad.
And I do it on purpose. However, I will say, and I'm saying this, and I'm not saying that it's right, and maybe it's something that I should work on, but I do it out of fun, and it's not with super ill intent. Like,
Right.
I'm not doing it because I'm saying I'm getting my lick back to somebody. Usually, I'm just having fun. So a perfect example is like we're driving in the car, right? And a song will come on, or she'll start singing. I cannot sing, and I can't carry a tune, and I just start singing all off key and loud, and she really hates that. So that's the part
That's a
that
good
she's
reason to
talking
do it,
about is
though.
really obnoxious.
Right.
But I know it's gonna get on her nerves, and she's like, "Oh, just stop it, stop it." So something like that. I will do things like that.
So would you agree, and this isn't my second question, this is a follow-up to this question, just to be clear. Would you agree, because I think I have an edge. I'm very kind, but I can be on that edge too sometimes, and be curt, and
Right,
not
right.
mean to hurt feelings. Do you think we have that in common?
I do.
Okay, that's what I think
I
too.
think I've worked on mine more than you have.
Good comeback, Deneen. Not true at all, but good comeback.
I do think that I worked on mine more,
yeah.
and I do think about that daily, because I often wonder, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I've wondered if I feel as though you've come across, not you personally, but I'm just saying in a situation where you've said what you wanted to say, how you wanted to say it, and when my response is the same way, in my way, then I'm the one who's wrong. I don't think so.
Well, that's the mind game.
Okay.
That when I think,
Okay.
when you are, I'm not insulting or anything. I'm just very straight, And I think sometimes people are so used to sugar on the candy, that they take it like an insult. So at least that's what I would like to think.
Okay.
You know.
I don't know how
I think it's most of that though,
Okay.
because we have that same tendency. I mean, you're just straight. Let's just cut through it and
Yeah.
talk about it, And people sometimes like to cherry pick and walk around it. So.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, let me find my second question. You good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh my God, this is tough. Hold on. Oh, what is one goal you're working on that aligns with an idea or a notion of something greater than yourself? How will it impact others if you meet this goal?
I don't know that I have one.
You can also tear the paper up and throw it back in, and I'll get
I
another
think I
question
might
out.
have. I don't know. Say that again.
What is one goal you're working on that aligns with an idea or a notion of something greater than yourself? So I would say read that like a spiritual goal or something like that.
Come back to that one. I would like to
Okay.
answer that later.
So you can let me have
I
three
have
tonight?
to think about it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, this one you'll know. What is your greatest strength, and how can you use it to improve your community or to help others?
I don't know that either.
You do know that you've done that your
Not
whole
really.
career.
Not really. I don't. Interesting. To me,
Right, absolutely, I get it.
I don't know that I've really found my purpose. Like, I
get
don't
it.
know that. I don't wake up every day and feel like I've arrived.
I get that, but from somebody looking at you all these years, you are a soldier. You're always out there on the platform. You're always fighting for better,
Right.
for people that look like you and others, I have to say. You've always, to me, had a platform. You've always, to me, had a strength in that area. Does that make sense? So to me, that's segue into purpose, really, because that's what
yeah.
I was thinking we were going to talk about in terms of purpose.
So I would say then, if that's the case, I do think that something that I do is share information, like not bad information, but
Right, absolutely.
I try to
Take care of people.
be of service to particularly the people who look like me, because when when you grow up when we grew up or whatever, I had teachers say things to me like, you're not a good writer. I won't support
Wow.
you going to the Black Journalist High School workshop, because I just don't think you're a good writer. I don't think you'll make it.
Oh,
And
okay, that's
so
encouraging.
it's very important to me that people feel inspired. And I don't want to be the person to make them not feel
Right.
important or empowered.
That's good. Yeah.
So I would think that's a strength of mine, that I'm able to connect with people sometimes when other people aren't.
And you said it. That's what I was trying to get to, but you said it much more eloquently than I did.
Oh, well,
And
thank
that's what I think. One
So
of your
I think that's a strength of mine.
Okay. And we've already talked about how you use it to improve your community and to help others. So.
I use it, I think, what I realized, even when I took this job, is that I'm probably not going to be a person, as much as I do have a dollar amount that I want to make, you know. I have to have a purpose or a mission
Right.
driven in what I do every day. I'm not really a person who could just wake up and not care about the product
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that I'm working with every day.
I
I
get
just don't
that.
think that I could do that.
I get that 120%. My most recent saying is unfortunately, I've quit better jobs than some people ever had. Because when I think I'm a 3 to 5 year. You know, when I hit 5 years, I've done it, I've
could
I
totally
claimed it, and
relate
I'm
to that.
gone, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And there's some places I wish I could run back to maybe,
Yeah.
but I get what you're saying.
Oh, really? So
I
what
mean,
would that be?
not literally, just in my mind, I'm feeling, I probably would go back to natural resources.
Okay.
I was in the director's office, I worked for the director, nowhere else to go. I mean, you know, you climb up there, you get up there, and then you, my boss, the second boss that came was a dear friend of mine. So he gave me a salary increase, and we were smooth sailing, and a year in, 2 years in, I left. So I don't know if it's that edge that I like, or if I just get bored after, 4 or 5 years.
Probably both. I think
Yeah.
that for me, if I don't think I can grow anymore, or I think that I have done everything or made every impact that I could possibly make in this position, it's time for me to go.
So you evaluate it better than I do.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I think I want to go.
That's how I kind of felt
Yes.
at the airport. I was like, I just don't know that there's anything else I could do here.
Right.
And I want to grow. And it wasn't a lot of room for upward mobility there.
Okay.
So then I moved on.
So let me follow up with that discussion. Do you ever have moments, and you don't have to mention names of companies or anything like that, where you feel like you've left something somewhere professionally? Does that make sense?
I feel like I leave something everywhere.
I mean, something that you want to go back and get. I should have said that clearly. Like we were just talking about
Yeah.
not going back. Or do you ever have times when you're thinking about a certain position and you're saying, man, I wish I'd just stay 6 more months to do this? Or
No.
and you're looking at what's going on there?
No.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good.
I think.
I guess.
I
mean,
think that I would do a redo of radio because I would do it different.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe that's the answer. I don't think that I was very that I capitalized the way that I should, but I didn't understand. That's the one thing. To go back, I would need to go back with what I know now,
Right,
Because
exactly.
I did not know this at that time, or maybe I was fearful. So I do think there was a touch of fear in me then.
That's an interesting concept because I don't capitalize either. I meet people and I go, and probably last 5 or 6 years ago, but still, I'll go out and I talk to people and they say, she knows everybody. And I started thinking about, I don't know everybody. But I never ask for anything. I never position because of that. I never, you know what I mean? I never use contacts like that. So when you said maybe you didn't do the things that you were supposed to do, how did you phrase that? You said maybe back then I didn't take advantage
A
of.
certain person told me, and I won't say the name, but because you wouldn't
right.
know who it was.
Okay.
But told me that I didn't. I knew that I didn't. But I'm going to say this. That was said to me, you made a statement that was said to me today, but I have asked people to help me.
Right.
And they have
right.
said no or not done it.
Well, see, I didn't even
So,
ask. So, but I still
think-
don't regret
yeah.
it. I mean, that's just
but
how I move.
I think, knowing who is the right person to ask. I also made mistakes of people who did try to, but were not as forthcoming with that's what the mission or what they were trying to do. And I just didn't recognize it until later.
But this is a good conversation because do you have to ask? I mean, sometimes you can be so powerful in your own self, not knowing it, you know what I mean? It's not like I said, I'm powerful, I don't need to ask. But sometimes you can be so projected and so powerful on your own that you just never think about asking people for a step up. You know what I mean? And you've had a wonderful career. So it's not like you were sitting somewhere, you know, twiddling your thumbs.
Right.
And had you asked for something, you would have had something better. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like I had a, you know, I think I had a great career too. So maybe it's just a perception that you go, you network, you build these links, and you should use, in quotation marks, those people.
For me, I just didn't know
I don't know.
how. I just didn't know how
That never even occurred to me.
capitalize off of some relationships that I had, especially relationships that were not in St. Louis, because I think there's a very different dynamic with working with people in St. Louis as opposed to outside of St. Louis, but I did not know how to expand that and how to nurture those out-of-town relationships.
Right.
Because how do you do that when you're not there?
Right, exactly.
So
That's interesting. I mean, I'm looking, we did the Clinton Gore campaign, and they tried to convince me to go work for a senator in Washington, D.C., right? And I guess a lot of people say, oh, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to Washington, D.C. I'm going back to Jeff City or
Right.
St. Louis. Or I think I was in Jeff City. So I just sometimes, since we're talking about that, and we do have a lot in common, I was just wondering if, you know, how you felt about that whole reverse thought thing. Okay, so let's talk about purpose specifically. When you have chosen to either leave or accept positions, have you had a definitive eye on purpose, or did you kind of say, I'm for the cause, you know, I'm going, this is my persona, right? I am responding to people that I think I can enrich and encourage. So no matter where I go, I'll do that. You know what I mean? Or did you say, okay, I need to go over here to this agency next, or I need to go to this agency next? Or did you just get an opportunity and say, okay, that sounds cool, let me do it?
most of the times I received an opportunity, but I'm always thinking about what do I want and what else
Okay.
all the time.
Okay, interesting.
So, yeah, most of the times it's been that it was, you know, put in front of me.
Right.
Because I never would have thought, I really didn't think I would work with young people, but, you know, I enjoyed the work. I love the mission of what we do. Overall, I mean, I don't work directly with them, so, you know, it's more high level, but I do enjoy the mission.
But you're
I'm
still
always
impacting what they're receiving and what,
well,
yeah, absolutely.
And not
That's
only
almost,
that, but the community as a whole.
yeah, that's
you know,
almost more important. I mean, the
yeah.
agenda is as important as the.
So, but I always think about what else is there? What are the other areas that I might, you know, feel like I could be impactful?
Oh, okay.
On a broad. Every time though, it's always a broader or bigger scale of impact,
Okay.
which is interesting. I find interesting.
It is. I think I'm like that, but I'm also really, really pleased where I am and the things that I'm impacting. And they sprout so much, so I feel like I'm getting like 10 out of 10 things for doing 2 things, you know what I mean? And right now, I don't know where else I've finally settled into the ministry and the young adults, and I don't know where else I'd rather.
I think.
Yeah.
Once you settled into that, that was it.
My joke is you all have them and I fix them. So nobody can ever blame me for
Right,
That's
right.
not true, obviously.
It's not my fault.
But right, exactly. So yeah, I've kind of settled into that. Okay, so let's talk about let's get another question.
Okay.
Okay, and if you have
What is this? Only certain ones, or I mean, I'm
No,
going
you
too
can
many
choose.
questions, or what's happening?
no,
No,
oh no,
no, you
I
go
like
ahead.
that I'm hitting. I think the questions are kind of hitting you, and I'm going to. If you get tired of them, you can say no more questions.
Okay.
Nina.
Really?
You
No,
sure
that's
can.
this kind of show. Okay.
Well, this is you know, we're just
okay.
I'm not gonna put you on the spot, and you know. Okay. I think we talked about this one, but I think I'm going to ask you anyway. Hold on. Okay, this will be my last one, so let me choose a care.
Ooh. The last one.
Did I ask you about the wishes?
Mm-mm.
I did not.
I don't think so.
I didn't think I did. I just wanted to make sure. Why are you looking at me like that?
Right.
If you had 2 wishes, what would they be? And let me tell you the conditions. Always conditions. One of them must be helpful to the entire world, and one can be only helpful to you, your friends, or your family. So basically, you can help the world and then help me if you want to tonight. Or you can to you, right? It's you, your friends, or your
Okay.
family. I'm just being silly. You want me to read it again?
No, not really.
Well, I didn't give you the option to change questions.
Is it like it? I mean, there's no right or wrong answers. So
Well, you have 2 wishes.
this
What would they
reminds
be?
me of that movie,
But it
Bedazzle. Is it gonna be a situation where once I choose it, it's gonna be like
no.
from the other perspective?
You can choose 2, but these are what they have to be. So the wishes you choose must be helpful. One must be helpful to the entire world. It can't
And
be
one
just
to
for
me
you.
and my family. Okay.
And one can be only helpful to you, your friends, or your family members.
Okay.
I know that's a lot of layers, right? Just
I don't
answer it the
know
way
what
you
the
want to. We'll
question-
roll with that.
Okay, the first one is I'm rich, so I don't know what you trying to ask me. I don't know.
So your first wish would be,
yeah.
so you
I
took
ain't
care of
getting
your
ready to
part.
let you take my wish away.
So you took care of the second
But
part.
your,
It can only be helpful to you.
That will help my family, specifically
teasing.
my daughter.
See, I wanted
that
you to
would
say
be very
that.
helpful
Okay,
to her.
see, I wanted you to say that. Your friends.
And it would be helpful to my friends.
It'd be helpful to
It'd
me.
be helpful to
Because
you.
when you picked it, I said, oh, that'd be
It
helpful
would be
to
helpful
me.
to you. It'll be helpful to a lot of people. I would donate.
I'd have to call you to say, stop giving it all away.
I would
Deneen.
have,
Look at her, she's acting rich already.
yeah,
I see it.
I would have more hair. No. I would have, an endowment in my parents' name somewhere.
She's even speaking
Specifically-
differently if you guys haven't
No,
noticed
yes,
already.
yes.
Speaking into
Honestly,
existence, Deneen.
my dad, especially at Harris Stowe, because he went there and he really, that meant a lot to him. So, that. And of course, I would do something with Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater St. Louis.
Of course you would, right. Besides resign, you do something else.
But I would stay on the
I'm
job.
joking.
And that would be the second wish, that I would remain there.
Yeah,
because,
I'm joking
just
because you
kidding
do
with the
love.
wish,
No,
but
you
I
do
would
love.
remain there.
Yeah, you love where you are, so I understand that.
But for the world, if I had a wish, it would be, okay, so here it is. And it's not defined, if you will.
Okay, just throw it out.
But I'm going to say that I would want to do something that would really solidify where we are as Black people.
Okay.
That we wouldn't continue, and I don't know what this would be, but continue to be challenged when it comes to our rights. And being able to just be authentically who we are.
Right, and I know that's
And that other people would understand, not just us, but any other Black, brown, minority group.
any group that's
that
not.
people could
Yeah.
just live in some type of harmony. I know, we're human, so once Adam and Eve did what they did, that was a wrap, right? So it goes downhill from there. But
Okay.
as much as we could to give us some type of harmony.
Okay, so
and I don't know
let's
what
go.
that would be.
Let's go there because I know that is your passion. How do you? Not to put you on the spot, but I know you have an answer because I've seen you move. How do you realize that in your daily life? You know what I mean? As far as maybe, how do you show up? How do you participate? How do you realize the end result of that, building that bridge? How do you build that bridge? Or how do you elevate that? I'll say elevate that. That's what I'll say. Elevate that.
For
that,
me.
Yeah.
So we had this conversation, my daughter and I, yesterday about authenticity.
Right.
And she challenged me and said that I was not authentic in a very specific situation.
Okay.
And which is unusual for me
Right,
in the
that's what I would say
situation. But
too.
I was interested in something else at this particular thing.
Okay.
And so I don't know. I think I'm able, and that's the other reason why what I do is important, because I have to be in a position where I can be myself. I'm
Right.
very uncomfortable when I have to show up or am constantly challenged in that area.
Okay.
But I don't think, and this is just me, and I could probably get criticized for it, but I think as any professional person, you are as authentic as you could possibly be in a professional setting. So
Okay.
you are not always who your friends and your family see at work. I mean, it's just because you can't show people that all the time. You know,
Well,
you just,
I think at the basic level you don't, because I mean I don't know that I switch hooked, you know, because I
I
just
mean,
don't.
I don't
But
know that I code switch, but
That's
I
what
do
I mean,
think
yeah.
that I hold back. Like, people don't know a lot. I'm not telling them everything about. I don't even know y'all like that.
Oh, you mean in terms of information sharing and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
I just, you know, it's just not like that.
Okay.
And I am, because I'm being challenged with, why don't you do this thing where, you know, you really just have fun? I have a problem with that. I always have had a problem with that on the job. Even, you
That's
know,
okay,
my
though. I
old
mean, that's, yeah.
coworkers would say, why don't you show up as we see you instead of showing up as this professional? I just am not comfortable with that.
And I think that's
who
okay.
I
Yeah,
am.
that's absolutely okay. That's
I'm comfortable, you know, but where I'm comfortable.
right, absolutely.
So, but I do think that there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, because I'm like, hi, how you doing?
You know, I don't think there's
I'm that
anything wrong with
person,
that, but you
know.
just, I do admire people who don't have a problem with that.
Well, I
To
don't know
me,
if it's
that's
better
just
or
me.
worse. It's just I know my personality, and I
Yeah.
really don't meet a stranger, which is, you know, it's just that's who I
meet a
am.
stranger,
I
think.
mean, well, I have my limitations on what I would do with this, but I mean, I'll walk down the street and say hi to everybody I pass. You know, I just have conversations. I told you to have conversations in the grocery store, and
That's
you know,
cool.
just all kind
I'm
of
not
stuff.
doing that probably.
Yeah. So it's just I think you do what you feel comfortable in doing, and that's just how it.
So I think I
kinda
probably
roll,
could
you
be
know?
wrong in this situation as well. Generally, I say something and then I do the opposite. So I don't know. I really don't know about that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it too.
Yeah, you know, seriously.
Yes, I'm thinking about or have you. And I'm almost like sit down and shut up.
I'm
kinda,
not really sure what exactly is code switching. Does that mean? Like,
Well, I think it means
like when you
have
change
a.
your voice because,
Well,
or
but
is that code switching?
I don't really
or-
buy into that. That's what I just said. I show up as Nina like 24/7. Now there may be situations where I'm making sure that I enunciate properly, just because I don't want people to not understand what I'm
Right,
saying.
right.
But I don't think I've ever code switched per se. I think I've always shown up as Nina. Now in saying that, I have been exposed to different people my whole life, so it's not like, you know what I mean. It's not like somebody who has not or somebody who.
Right,
So
right.
yeah. But I don't believe in code switching. I think you show up as who you are. And if that environment doesn't receive who you are, then you shouldn't be in that environment.
That's right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we agreed on it. Okay, so let's go back to purpose. Because I feel like as your friend for 5,000 years, I already know your purpose, and I think I know. Let me say it that way. And I think you move in it so easily. How are we doing on time for questions? I don't want to shut out our questions. Okay. I think you move so easily in that
How
space.
you know she got questions?
I just assumed.
She ain't got no questions.
Yes, you did. How you got that?
She got
Me and
okay.
you.
Okay.
Leave my friend alone.
Okay.
Miss Valerie's
I
over here
just
doing
wanna
her
know.
thing.
I'm just nosy.
And bossy. You made me lose my thought.
Move so easily.
Right. I think sometimes in the search for purpose, we're looking so hard and so focused beyond where we are that we don't even realize we're already moving in it, either to some extent or wholly. And I very much think you move in your purpose. I think you are. I don't know why the word protester came in my spirit. But I think that's who you are.
A protester.
But not like on the line, you know, throwing things out. I mean, spiritual protester. Like,
What
you
is
know,
it?
that means if you chew on it and it doesn't taste right, you're going to call it out. You know, if you see something going on in the community, in the store, in the school, in your job, and it's not feeling appropriate for you or for, I don't want to say your people because I think that's a tired phrase, but for people who look like you, then you're going to stand on it. Is that fair?
I don't know. I think I used to be that person for
Okay,
sure.
well, maybe that's,
So,
you think it dies? I don't think it
I
goes
think
anywhere.
people change, you know, not change, but what's the word?
Evolve or not
evolve is maybe
that?
it, yeah.
Okay.
Evolve.
Or maybe you do it a different way now.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
what
it.
I would say.
And I mean, I guess that's the evolution.
Right.
A
So
bit.
you didn't really change. You just have grown, I think, in your effort and your understanding of
I
how
would
best to
hope
get
some
the outcome.
growth. I mean, wouldn't that be proper? Right?
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Say that again.
What?
I would hope some growth. Wouldn't that be proper? I like that. I like that. The way you said that.
You know, I mean, you said earlier you disagree, but I definitely do feel as though I'm much calmer than I used to be.
Oh, I didn't say. I missed it. If you thought I said that, I
Oh,
didn't mean
okay.
that. Absolutely.
But I think
Yeah.
I'm much calmer than I used to be. And so that's where I think the evolution comes.
Yeah, I think you're picking and choosing, like,
exactly.
what
And I
deserves my
do-
energy, yeah.
I absolutely am very selfish now about the things that I exert my energy on.
That's good. Yep.
And that's something that
I'm
I
still a
work
work
on
in
daily.
progress on that.
Daily. Now that is something that I work on daily. Is does this deserve my time? Because
Right.
I know how precious my time is. Now I do. You know, I think all those times I took it for granted, but things that used to be not, you know, things that are important to me as I feel like they should be, whatever that is. You know
Right.
what I mean? And if it's not, then it's not. And I feel very strongly about that
That's
now.
good. Yep.
I think, and this is probably not the right word because you'll correct me though,
No.
but I think I try to be a lot more strategic in how I move now.
That's right. We were thinking the same thing because
Yeah,
right.
I
I'm
like
working on
to
that.
think about, is this the right move?
Or does it even matter sometimes? You know.
Yes.
So I'm not there.
Yeah.
I'm very, very much a work in progress on that because I'm the person that you pick it up, you put it down in the right place, and that kind. You know. So that's how I do my life, and that's how I do my relationships. So I get it. I'm trying to ease up on some stuff that will it matter tomorrow? Well, probably not.
You know, some things I still, you know, like I said, it's something that I'm working on, and I have to work on it. So, and continue to work on those things, but I'm conscious of it. I try to be conscious of it.
So let me ask you this: do you? Because I know I get this. So spiritually, I pick up a lot of energy, and so I am growing in my desire to ignore that energy that's not mine. You know what I mean? Like, what I used to say is, what you think of me is not my business,
Right.
right? But when I use that energy to say, really, look how they looked at me, it just turns into a whole big thing. So that's my challenge: is to not take that energy with me and to leave it where it is, because after all, it's their business.
That's a huge
It's not-
challenge for me as well.
Yeah, it is.
But sometimes it's not. Sometimes I think it cannot be ignored.
Well,
So, especially if it affects you and what you're doing at the moment or your livelihood. So, you know, for me,
That's a
I
good
am
point.
working on figuring out how do you move around that, and I pray about
That's good.
that.
Yeah. Because the challenge is when I don't think the firing is bad. I think the challenge is choosing when to shoot. You get what I'm saying? Like,
And what to do for me with discernment sometimes, you know, I struggle with, like, God will tell me that something is going to happen. I know it's coming, and then when it comes, I'm mad. And I'll ask
I think
him,
we
like,
are.
why am I mad about it? You already told me it was coming, but why you don't tell me what to do with it when it comes? That's when I have the issue. That's when I have the problem. Because
just
then
to
I'm
keep
like, I'm human. I'm still going to have the same reaction I was going to have in the first place.
Well, I think in the telling
But I don't want to do that.
but I think in the telling is the forewarning. So if the reaction that we've had before is not working, then if I tell you it's coming, that's preparing you.
But it does not,
I'm
'cause
just
I'm
telling you a
still
thought
mad.
process. You can be mad, just don't be mad there and just walk away and be
But
mad.
that's not what I'm saying. It's happening. I'm still doing, so I'm not passing the test every time.
But what I'm suggesting maybe is possibly you have the answer to your question. The answer
Okay.
to your question is, okay,
Well,
if I say every time I go out on Monday, it rains. So just be saying, don't go out on Monday, right? And I go out on Monday anyway, and it rains. And I was like, what do you want me to do about not going out on Monday? Does that make sense? Okay, so there's an adjustment. When I give you, like if I tell you the stock market is crashing tomorrow.
That's probably
I know you
insider
like to play.
trading, and we might go to jail. I don't want to know.
Well, if I press, I'm not even, I almost got in trouble. So let me put, okay. But basically, I think within that knowledge that's
I
been
get
given
it,
to
yeah.
us is the way to adjust whatever we need
and
to be
I'm working
adjusted.
with
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm working with that.
So it's not a direct
It's
sentence.
been times
Go to the
actually
left. It's
I've
not like that.
passed
Yeah.
that, you know,
Right.
I
So
knew it
then
was
so then there's
coming, so-
improvement. And you like me, you just have to, take
But it's-
your kudos from if you do 1 out of 10. I did 1 out of 10 last week. I didn't do any.
Yeah.
So it's progress.
I'm going to try to get them all right, though.
I know that's a type A, but the spiritual journey is not a type A journey at all.
Yeah.
Not even close. Not even close. I mean,
No, that was good stuff.
Every time I think I conquer something, here's something else.
Right.
Or
exactly.
here's some residue that I didn't clean up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Or a reminder.
Yeah, I think what I have done is I've strived to, first of all, be great with Nina, right? I like Nina. I'm practicing liking all of Nina, right? And I think the more I like me, the less I really have to get into it with people about what they think of me and what they're doing around me, And also be willing to think before I act.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm passionate, so sometimes I have to.
Exactly. I get
so-
that.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
I'm arriving too. I haven't knocked on the door and closed it behind me yet. So, okay, let's see, Valerie, how we doing over there?
Ma'am, we're doing great.
I think he had a finger. Oh, maybe not.
Thank you.
Oh.
And make sure that our people on Zoom can communicate with us, and then we'll answer a few questions, take a few questions. If you have questions, you're watching, come into Zoom and put them in the chat for us.
Yes.
Thank you.
So a couple of questions. This question really goes back to when you were referring to doing things differently when you were in radio. But what advice would you give your younger self about pursuing purpose?
Ooh. Did Nina set that up? No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
because I want
I'm
to
only
answer
kidding.
that
so
one too.
You gonna answer?
I'm going to answer it first. I want you to answer it first.
What advice would I give my younger self? To try all those things that you are afraid of trying.
That's good.
I would do every single thing that I did not do at that time.
That's really good. I think I would tell my younger self that purpose is not static, it can evolve. Because you know what I mean? We spend our whole life trying to figure out what we should be, where we're supposed to be. And when we get there, then we struggle understanding that we may have evolved into something else. So I think I would tell myself that purpose could be fluid. Which is kind of the same
would
thing,
tell
yeah.
myself that it is okay to fail.
Absolutely, that's good.
And try all the things.
And I'm going to take you deeper than that. There is no fail.
Right.
There's just a not do.
There's no such thing,
That's right.
really.
It's just a not do.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Another question
I
from
love that.
our Zoom attendees. What do you enjoy most about your current role?
Ooh, that's a good one. I can tell you exactly what I love the most is watching the young people evolve. I like to see things like I'm walking down the hallway and someone, a small person says, so we wearing our pajamas to work today. No, ma'am, these are plaid pants, thank you very much. to someone saying, Miss Busby, Miss Deneen, come here, I want you to hear this, I want you to hear this. Or me
That's good,
seeing them getting a $40,000 scholarship, and they're talking about going to college and going to Harvard, going to being accepted to Mizzou. Legacy is one of our keynote speakers, and she's a 15-year-old dynamite. Just really seeing young people flourishing in an environment that they feel safe in, and that they thrive. They're thriving, you know?
That's good.
And their families too. So it's the holistic piece. So I think that's what I love best, and being actually able to tell that story. So that's the most important part, is being able to share that information with the masses, so that you know you could do the same thing. You can, here I go with the pitch again. But
That's okay. No,
this is something
that's
that you can bring your kids to, because there's scholarships out here. I want people to know, and I think this is what telling that story does, is that where there's a will, there's a way. And that's real talk.
And that sounds like evolution for you.
Really?
Yes, because I think you were doing the day-to-day same thing, the recycle every day, same thing, and now maybe the position that you're in allows you to expand and grow and try new things and build those relationships that launch. So you get to see them launch, you know what I mean? That's good. Good stuff. Good stuff.
That is good. And I just want to go back to when you guys were talking about showing the real you, professionally versus personally, and the comments that you made. But it just reminded me of, there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a place for every action. There's a time and a place for every word. So it's just, there's a time and a place. However,
I was just going to say, okay, because,
it should not totally change you.
Sometimes the time and place, though, is when it occurs.
Exactly. But
So you know what I mean? Sometimes, yeah.
yeah.
That's what I was
One of
saying
the
anyway.
things in raising my children, I stayed on them constantly with correct language, speaking properly, and so forth. And they would say to me all the time, "Oh, Ma," I'm like, "Nope. I want you to be able to articulate,
That's right.
no matter what situation you're in, no matter where you are." Now, don't misunderstand me, because this is exactly what I said. Trust me, when I get with my homegirls, but your personality should never change. Who they see is who they see.
Yeah, I just a little bit of, just a tad of pushback. I don't believe in switch baiting or switch, whatever they call that.
Code switching.
Codes. Well, they used to call it switch hooking or something like that, where you automatically change into this literate person. You know what I mean?
It's my radio voice.
Right, exactly. Right? I would like to think that my conversation and how I speak has evolved over the years to whatever it is now. And I still say some things like I just said that aren't correct. And I think that, to me, that's the solution to all this code stuff. You know what I mean? Just as long as people understand it, I should be able to say it however I want to say it. All right? Now, I agree. You need to know what to say in case, you work a campaign or something like that. You don't want to look like Dodo the Dum-Dum. But
Dum Dum the Dodo.
yeah, either one. There's probably somebody named Dum Dum. Yeah, yeah. That's a tricky discussion though.
It is. I don't know where to go with that, so I'm gonna let y'all.
Because it can make
do
you
that
feel
one.
like less, less.
Well, that's the thing. It shouldn't make you feel less.
I don't think
It shouldn't, but it could. If somebody says the way you talk.
I don't feel less. I don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about kids. I'm not talking
Yeah. Oh,
about
yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
grown.
Okay,
We can make our choices.
And
but I
yeah.
think it's good for them to know because, like you said, they are in environments where, especially I've had young adults just talk to me, and I'm sitting there like, okay, now tell me what you just said.
Yes. Break it down to me like I'm this tall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me
Right,
exactly what you
right.
just said. And the other thing, one of the things we used to do when I was teaching, and I miss it dearly, is they would write their essay and think they're just turning the essay in. And I'd say, okay, now part 2 of the assignment is that you have to go up, turn your paper over, and tell us what's in your essay. And what that does is that takes us away from writing the story to understanding and owning the story. And then we can tell it as many times as we want to. So I think that's that's just like what you were talking in that vein, is teaching people how to express themselves in the way that they need to. Good stuff.
Do you miss being a radio personality?
Sometimes I do. Now, it took me a long time to get to the point where I started to miss it, but I've started to miss it now. But yeah.
Didn't you do our, oh man, what was that thing we did? Who was I working for? I was working for the state. Transitions. You remember Transitions St. Louis? And you did that, we did the rap. Didn't we record that with you? Or that might have been with Steve.
Steve Byers.
Yeah, I don't remember. You don't remember the rap we made up? Okay. I thought sure you helped us with
But
that.
I think
I've been in the
we
studio
did a
doing
lot
something. I know.
A lot of things.
I thought you did that
a
with
lot of
us.
fun things.
Right. I
Yeah.
thought you did that
We
with
did.
us.
Probably so.
It was a rhyme
It
about
sound like
mental
it.
health or something.
Yeah,
But
right.
I had it on my shirt. I can't find the shirt anymore, but yeah. So there was a lot of fun things we were able to do.
Yeah, we did a lot of fun things.
So let me. Do you have another question?
No.
Okay. Let me just kind of move us into completion by just asking you some questions, and you can fire back questions for me if you want. What do you see as the most positive change in the universe, right? From the way it was. Does that make sense, or is that too broad?
In the universe?
In the world, basically. I shouldn't say in the world.
Positive change in the world?
In terms of how people relate to each other, relationships, or anything. I'm not going to limit it. I want you to just, and if that's too broad, just tell me. But I want you to beam in on what you want to say.
I will say, I'll say that I've seen people evolve. That I know, into fuller individuals spiritually or, as humans. I'm not really sure too much about the world. I mean, I think it's a very complex place at this moment. I think that if you were to look at the glass half full, I think it's nice that we have a sense of entitlement now that we never had before.
That's good.
So that's pretty cool.
Never thought of it like that.
I'll leave it there.
That's good though. So say tell me what you said again at first. You said
I've seen people that I know evolve into fuller humans, and when I mean
I think
by
that's
fuller humans, I mean just settled into being content with who they are.
We are really, man, stay out my brain, because that's exactly where I was trying to go back with you, because that's what it sounded like you were saying to me. And my question was going to be, are you suggesting that as people get to know who they are and appreciate who they are, it is evolution? That's perfect.
Yep.
That's the third time you've done that tonight, Deneen.
Well, I don't know what to say.
Get out of my head.
It's the two people who have discernment, great discernment. I think that when people are, I don't know, this probably isn't right, but spiritually aligned, or at least seeking to be who they need to be in not just the natural, if you will, but I'm trying to think of
I
what
think
my
that's
friend
perfectly
says.
stated.
Yeah,
I mean,
in the
I
natural
get you what you're saying exactly.
you do have a tendency to be on the same page.
Yeah.
without even knowing.
And
that
it
you're on the
doesn't
same
happen
page. Yeah.
a
Oh,
lot,
really?
but it
Really?
has the potential to happen a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And man, that's beautiful. Say that. Can you say that again? Do you remember what you said?
I think that when people, I don't know what I said, so tell me
It'll
if I
come
said
out
this,
right. Go ahead.
that I
'Cause you believed
said
it.
people with strong discernment can be spiritually aligned, and oftentimes when you're trying to not just be spiritually aligned in the natural,
Right,
that
exactly,
you're really
exactly.
attempting to be who you should be as a soul. I'm not gonna say this part, but from your soul, then you have a tendency to be on the same page without really knowing you're on the same page until you start talking.
That's so funny because
Yeah.
that is what Make Your Life Work Project is, in combination with Yes to God, which is the religious part of
Yeah.
Rosa Sharon. That's exactly, and we're going to end on this because this is strong. That's exactly what we strive to do. We strive to let people come into a place where they can identify who they are, why they exist, and what magnanimous things they can accomplish. And all of that, to me, requires spirit. You know, I think we're so used to not being who we are that a lot of times I have a really tough time getting people to that place, right? Believe it or not, you know. But I think once you taste it and see that it's good, you know, it can evolve us. So
Yeah.
perfect. I love that. And I'm going to end with that wonderful summary from Deneen. Stay out of my business. Stay out of my ministry. But thank you for that summation because that's what it's about. So thank you all again. Thank you for people who tuned in. Thank you for people who participated. And I hope we had a good discussion where you learned something or you, what do you call it when you knew it already? You learned
knew it
something
already,
or you
epiphany.
validated something that you felt.
Confirmation.
Or if you didn't learn anything, you found something to share with somebody else. So thank you. Have a good night, and we will see you next week. And thank you, Deneen.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Thank you for being here.
I didn't know
Always.
if I was going to answer the questions.